So we're going to get started with one of the most important parts of this class, and that's going to be cutting all of our papers to the size that they need to be in order to fit the album per the instructions for Simple Stories. So with this, I want you guys to have out your paper trimmer. Let's go ahead and get our scissors out. We're going to need those. We're going to need a corner rounder, and then we're also going to need all of the paper that's inside of your kit. So the 6x8 pieces, you can go ahead and tear those apart, and then all of your 12x12s. Now, unfortunately, one of the things that the instructions leave off is that you need the barcodes. Throughout the album, you actually use these pieces of the barcode, and I want you guys to make sure that that's the first thing that you do is cut all of those off and keep them. So that's kind of a trend right now, using the barcodes for decoration. When I cut my barcodes off, I normally measure the 12 inches. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Put it in my trimmer, and I'm going to measure 12 inches. And then I'm going to set them all aside once I get them all cut. So let's work together, get them all done. And try to put your paper, well, that doesn't matter, I guess. Don't worry about the order. And we'll go back to that. Yeah, I was cutting this at my grandmother's house. Unbeknownst to me, I did read the instructions verbatim, word for word, all 33 pages or 34 pages, whatever it is. And it does not mention that I need the barcode parts until it was too late. I had already thrown them away. So don't be a Shannon. Be better than me and keep the barcodes. Now, one of you lucky ladies, since I've already got, I've started cutting these, I'm just doing this as a demo, is going to get this set cut out. So if you haven't purchased your album yet, you could actually already get part of the work done for you because the cutting will be finished, which is a nice little bonus. Okay, last one for me. All right, so take these little guys, set them aside so that they're out of the way, and let's go back to the 12x12 pieces and your trimmer, and we're gonna pull out the very first one, which is that one there. I know it's a little tricky too, because once you cut off your barcodes, it doesn't tell you which paper is which, but you're doing it with me, so you guys should be just fine. And this is the first sheet that we're gonna end up cutting. So we need a 5 1/4 by 6 7/8. So I'm gonna flip this around because it needs to be 5 1/4 here and then 6 3/4 this way. And the way I like to measure stuff, I am going to do the 5 1/4 first. So there's my 5. There's my 1/4, and as you can see, I'm really precise too. I don't take it past the line, I take it right to it. So all of my cutting is very consistent. I never worry about what it looks down here. I always just make sure it's up against these ledges and very, very straight. So let's close that and cut. So there's that one. Now we're gonna take this piece and we're gonna cut it 6 7/8. Now, if you're working from the instructions here, which is great, these are really good instructions. They are getting better every time they make an album. Simple Stories is getting really good with their instructions. So if you're looking at this and it says the first measurement is just like Sketch Club. It's going to be your width. The second measurement is going to be your height. So you guys are used to that. So just keep that in mind, that whenever they have the first measurement is the width and the second measurement is the height, which is really nice. I'm glad that they're consistent with that too. So our next one is 6 7/8. So we have 6. 7/8 is going to be 8 of these lines right here. So a half is 5 and then 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7/8 is the eighth right before the 7 inches. And if it looks like that, you should be doing pretty good. So then these two pieces at the moment, we're gonna set aside and finish our cutting. And this is a pretty simple one because all we're gonna do is cut this into a square, 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. It's already 6 3/4. That's perfect. So now we're gonna do the 6 3/4. Now the 3/4 on this one is right to this edge right here where it's flat. All right, so there is that piece that is done. This one here is also done. And now we're gonna take these two pieces and we need to do a little bit more work to them. On this right-hand side, it wants us to put a 1/4 inch score. So right here is where it wants us to score. I like to use my trimmer and the scissors. I learned that trick from Wendy. I'm really missing Wendy right now because she was doing these albums for me and she did such a great job. And now I'm on my own because Wendy's back at teaching. So we're going to put it at the measurement, which is going to be a 1/4 inch. And our trimmers, the long lines are a 1/4 inch. So I'm just gonna bring it to the edge, put it down, use my scissors very gingerly, and I'm gonna press so that I've got a nice little score line. Now on this album here, it's going to fold back like that. So you're gonna put adhesive underneath and it'll fold back. So I always like to kind of just make sure I did a good job with the scoring. And yep, that's gonna go right connected to the book and then fold open. So that piece is finished. Now let's grab this guy here and we're gonna score on the opposite side. So on this one, we're gonna score right here, a 1/4 inch. Oh, don't use your trimmer, Shannon. Take your scissors or a bone folder if you have one, and do a nice soft score. And then the same thing, I like to fold it up, make sure I got it nice and good, and I do, that looks perfect. And then on this, it wants us to round the corners. So that's what we're gonna do now, is we're going to round the corners on this one. So I've got my fancy corner rounder. Perfect, and that's it. Now these ones are actually done. I really recommend that you kind of keep your papers all together, you know, instead of having everything into a huge pile, keep them separate. It just works better. So the next one is going to be our tag elements, and that's a pretty simple one. So here's our tags, and it's tags on both sides, so you know, it doesn't matter which way you cut it, but this is what we're going to do. And we're going to cut these tags apart, but not all of them. If you look at the instructions, and I'm actually going to use the other side because I think it's easier to see these lines, and I don't want to measure this because I want to make sure it's precise. So when I'm using this trimmer, it's a Sure Cut Accurate trimmer. It's one of the best ones out there. If you have it right there underneath the line, just where you can barely see the color, that is going to cut right like that. It's very precise. I'm going to do this row here, right underneath there a little bit. Perfect. Now, this you have to keep together. So that is the one thing that we're going to do first, is keep those together. And we're going to set this aside. And now the rest of them we're going to cut apart. So let's go ahead and cut them all. And then once we have them all cut, we're going to clip these corners off with a pair of scissors. These are small corners, so I don't mind just clipping them with scissors, because normally I'm pretty fanatical. I like to have everything done with the trimmer. Okay, so there's all your tags. Now let's finish it off by clipping the corners. So one cut. I wouldn't do any more than one at a time. Those guys were stuck together. Oh my gosh, I'm not sure if you guys can hear, but I can hear Baxter snoring underneath my feet. All right, let's get them all cut. Okay, all the tags are cut. We're going to set those aside in a separate pile. Let's go ahead and get rid of all these guys. Okay, and now we're going to use our journaling elements. That's going to be the next one. So these are the journaling elements, and everything here is going to be cut apart. So all of this, every single thing is cut apart, and then this one we're going to do a little extra trimming on it. And we actually use every single one of these in the album. So you want to make sure you get every single one cut and you do a good job. There's very little left over with everything that you have inside your album. Very, very little left over. Oh, set this one aside. This is the one that we're going to do a little bit more trimming. Christmas wish list. I told my husband the other day my wish list was to have a house on a lake, but I would settle for a river. All right, so those little guys are done. We can set those aside into a neat pile and grab this, and they want it cut 2 3/4. Well, right now it's already 3 1/4. So if we just take a 1/4 inch off each side, that will be 2 1/4. Okay. So we're going to set that one aside with the rest, and then we're going to grab our 3x4 cards. 3x4 cards, these guys here. Now, there's a couple things that we're going to do different, so don't get too crazy cutting until you've seen me do it. These need to stay in a section, and this needs to stay in a section, okay? And that one's going to get edited. So what I'm gonna do is start with the ones that I know I need to kind of get out of here. So those ones are all cut apart. And now this one, so this stays together just like that. And these two stay together. And then the rest of them, we're going to cut apart. You can start another pile for the ones that are finished. This one here is going to get trimmed. So set that here. And then everything else should get separated. This one here, we want to cut to 2 1/2 inches. So this one is 3 inches, so we're just going to take a 1/4 inch off each side. And then that is 2.5 inches, which actually I shorted that a little bit. I'm just going to even it up and make sure it's centered more. That looks good. Set that one to the side. This is a finished one. Now we're going to take this one back and we're going to do what we need to for this. So what it wants me to do is it wants to keep it together, and then it wants me to score down 4 1/4. So I'm going to set this on the trimmer. There's 4, there's 4 1/4. It's only down a little bit. And I'm going to take my scissors, gently use them, and then this gets folded down like that. And then the next thing they want me to do is round the corners. Make sure you get it in there all the way with these darn corner rounders. If you're not paying attention, they'll leave a little tiny notch, which with ink you don't notice, but I'm a little neurotic. It makes me a little crazy. So there's your 3x4 cards. They're all done. Set them aside. And we're going to get our 4x4 cards. And quite a few of these are a little bit different, so we want to make sure we do all of this together, okay? Let's cut the first section apart here. And we're keeping those together, and it's going to make a cute little book, which is really, I really like that part of it. So this is done, this is done. Let's take the next section, and we're going to cut the 4 inches. And then we're not cutting these all apart. We're going to keep them in a section of 4, these little 2x2s. So that's done. This is done. And then these ones, and then this gets cut apart. Now this one here, it wants a fussy cut. I am so not doing that. I don't like how they look fussy cut, so staying as is. Holly Jolly stays as is. This, we're going to use a punch, and we're going to round the corner here. And I don't think I grabbed out the right size punch, so we're going to do that a little later on, but it would be a 1-inch punch right here. These guys are going to get cut apart. And then that is done, and you can set those into a separate pile. Your last pattern piece of paper before the dots are these, and this is the 4x6s are all gonna just get cut individually. Okay, 4x6s cuts are done. We're gonna grab our black color vibe, which is this here, and we're going to cut, we want this in sections. So we're going to cut our first one this way, and it's going to be 4.5 inches. And then the first cut is 3.5, and then 4.5. And you should have left over to 4 inches. Now, I'm pretty neurotic with my cutting, so I will always bring it to the measurement, and if there's even a little sliver, I always will cut that off. Hard to see right here. Let's see. Let's get it out of there soon. So that is the little sliver. So that's one set. And now this next one, we're going to turn it this way, and we're going to cut it 7 inches. So take it to the 7. We're going to set that one aside. And then this right here, we're going to cut a little bit off the top. It's going to be a 1/2 inch. So we're going to take it to the 7. And that's our 5x7 piece. This right here you're going to use in the book, and you need 4 inches. So this you can throw away, that you keep. But you can save everything just in case, you know, you want to use it for something else. So then this needs to be 4 inches. Now, I'm pretty good at my measuring and looking at sizes. So this has to stay 7 inches. So that's why I turn it to get the 4. Because then I'm going to do a 4x6. And then that's what I'm keeping. And then this is already the measurement that it needs to be, but I check everything. So 3.5, that looks good, by 7. I'm gonna check that 3.5 again, because I do like to make sure there's nothing. I mean, that was such a sliver, I can't even, oh, there it is. Just a small piece, but it makes me feel better. Okay, I'm gonna trim those off. Perfect. That, we're going to set aside. The black is done. And we're going to grab our red. Okay, so for the red, there is a lot of tricky cutting, which just makes me a little crazy because, I mean, there's just no reason for all this, like, bits and pieces. But we're going to do it. We're going to get through it. So the first cut I want to do is 5 inches. So with the 5 inches, then we're going to turn it this way, and we're going to do 6 3/4. And then we're going to be editing this piece, which let's do it right now. So we're all following along with the same thing. So it's going to end up turning into a tag. So we're going to eventually punch a hole, and we're also going to clip the corners. Now, when I did it, I took one of the other tags that I had already done, and I lined it up on the edge so that all of them had the same corner, because I like to be consistent. All right, why you're not moving? There we go. And then that is it. Put your tag back with the rest of the tags. I cannot stress to you how important it is to keep everything together. Okay. And then we'll punch a hole in that later. But this is done. And now this piece, we already cut the 5 inches, so that's 5. And now we're going to do another 5. So 5 by 5. And that's done. This we're going to keep, but we're going to cut it 4.5 inches. We do use it on the page. And set that aside. This is garbage. Now we're going to grab this piece again and continue with our cutting. And it does get a little tricky because you do need to almost fussy cut something, but we're going to cut the 5 inches first. So if it's the long way, we're going to cut 5 inches. Set that aside. And then we're going to cut 3.5. And that's done. From this, we're going to cut 3.5. And then with this one, it's already 1.5 inches. Let's just check it. Yep, that's really good. And then by 2.5. And this is garbage. We're going to go back to this piece here, and we're going to cut 6 inches. We're going to flip it, excuse me, and we're going to do 2. Done. This one should be 5 by 6 now, so let's check the 5 inches. Good. Done. And then this, we're going to cut into 2 pieces. 1 by 3. There's one 1 by 3. There's another 1 by 3. And then that's it. Now, this is garbage. You could save this piece because they do like this little flag part with it, but I am not having it. There's no flags anywhere else in the book, so I didn't want to do it on one, so I threw it out. But your choice, keep everything, I guess, until we get to that point and you can decide if you like the look of it or not. So red is done. Set that one aside, and now we have our last one, which for the big pieces anyways, is the green, the lime color vibe. And this one, the first cut we're going to make is going to be 4.5 inches. And then from there, we're going to cut 1 6.5. And with that, this one should be 5.5. And it is, so that's good. And then from here, we're going to cut this into, these right now are 7.5 inches. Okay, so 7.5 inches, there we go. And then it's going to be a 6 by 6, so we're just cutting it in half. So 6. That's good too, so we're going to leave that alone. All right, this is done. And now we're going to go to our 6 by 8 pieces. So Hello December is our first one, and we don't cut it all. Isn't that great? So just put it away in the pile. The next one is the poinsettias with the asterisks, and we're going to take and we're going to score 4 1/4 down. So let's turn it over, take it to 4 1/4. Use our handy dandy scissors. Nice and soft. Don't push too hard. If you do, you're going to rip the paper. If you're not used to doing this, please just use a bone folder. Use something with a blunt edge. And I like to smooth it out. And then we're going to corner around these ends right here. We're going to wait for this one because it says that we're corner rounding these ends, but that doesn't make any sense to me. So we're just going to set it aside and we're going to wait. When you're not sure about something, don't do it. Just wait. Buffalo check. We're going to cut 2 inches off of it. And this is another thing too, is like before you start cutting from one end or the other, make sure there's nothing that of any importance on the other side. So 2 inches, doesn't matter on this this one. And that is it. These 2 pieces get set aside. Jingle all the way. Laugh and play. Jingle all the way. This stays as is. The red floral with the black buffalo on the back is going to get a lot of different cutting. So let's grab that. Put it in the trimmer and cut 2 inches. And then cut another 2 inches. And then we're going to cut a 3 by 4. 3 by 4. Let me just check there. This one looks like it's going to be a little over. So let me take off that sliver. And then that's it for these. And the one with the creamy dots, the craft color with the colorful dots, is going to get cut. We're going to do 3 inches. And then 3 inches. This one, just check it. Get rid of that little sliver. And now we're going to do 4. Oops. Let's get rid of that guy. All right, that one is done. Now we have the 6 by 8 stripe paper with the black words, or the black word on it, on the back side. And we're going to take this and we're going to cut a 1/2 inch off the bottom. So turn it around, take it to 7.5, which 7.5 on here is right there. And And that is it. We don't end up using this, but if you want to save it, go ahead. But I'm getting rid of it because it's not in the instructions. Okay, the Cardinals. We've got a couple cuts that we're going to do. The first one is we're going to cut 4 inches. And then we're going to turn it, and we're going to do a 4x4 square. Check this to be 2 inches. And those 2 pieces are done. And this one is also done, so we are good. Comfort and Joy, we don't cut, so we just put it away. The trees, we're going to take this one and we're going to score it 4 1/4 down from the top. It's a directional pattern, so we might want to make sure we do it this way. Oh, I know what it was I did. I folded it the wrong way. So we're going to backtrack for a second. So on this, we're going to round the corners. Oh, I don't like that. Okay, I got a bad cut there. Make sure you've got your paper in all the way. Just round it. All right, so we're gonna go back for a second to the one piece that I folded because all I did was fold it the wrong way. It wanted the 4 and I don't understand that. This is the 4 1/4. It wanted it folded this way, I believe, but we're gonna wait and see. But I do think this is how it's supposed to be. I know it is, so I'm going with it. But you guys might want to wait until I make sure I'm 100% right. Oh, this corner rounder is giving me the runaround today. All right, there we go. So put that in there. Grab your Santa Make It Merry with the 3x4 cards, and we're gonna cut these apart. Good, good. We're gonna cut this one apart. Keep it. Now this little guy we're gonna cut